Hey everyone. This is going to be, I guess, at least the quickest video that I believe I can make about Diablo 4. So, what we're seeing here is a tweet from Rod Ferguson. This is from Blue Sky, basically saying he's going to be stepping away from Blizzard in Diablo to a new adventure, pretty much. Um, Now, in terms of Rod, I am going to avoid criticizing him in this video for anything. I don't believe that someone on the way out from a company really deserves that sort of heat in general. And honestly, I don't think it's fair to sort of put everything on him because I would say he's the easy target and I don't think he's the necessarily correct target. So, as much as I do have problems with the Diablo franchise for now, I'm going to try and avoid speaking any ill will of him because honestly, he's a dude that had a job, and however way he lost it, I hope he finds honestly the next thing he wants to do, whether it was fatigue from being a senior executive and wanting to create more things. Power to him. I've never met him. I'm sure he's a great guy. From what I've heard over other creators videos, it just anecdotally seems like a cool dude. But I digress. Now, why am I making this video? I felt it was time. um I haven't played a lot of Diablo 4, admittedly, since way before the expansion. I think it was like season one where I played it, and I really wanted it to be good, but I felt that there was a lot missing, and there still is. Um, Chiefly amongst those things, I don't believe that Diablo hit the mark in a lot of areas that the Diablo franchise was, you know, pretty famous for, like, you know, items. Items were a big one. Um, like let's take the comparison. So in Diablo 2, for example, or even Diablo 1, um, a thing people would do is uh like in Diablo 2 mainly, people would magic find. So people would basically, you know, sacrifice a bit of damage for the ability to have really high rarity, basically. And what that would do is just give you a higher chance of uniques. And the way the sort of rarity pool on those uniques was a bit more controlled was basically handed over to the game's chance of dropping that base item and then applying your rarity to that and rolling it, and basically then choosing what kind of rarity of that thing you got. So a good example being Tyrael's Might, you had to have the game choose a sacred armor before your magic find was applied to anything. Then on that sacred armor, it had to roll unique, and then from that unique item, it had to either be a Tyrael's Might or a Templar. Yeah, Tyrael's Might or a Templar's. And if it was ethereal, then it was definitely a Templar's because Tyrael's Might is indestructible. So you get the idea. There is a real high chance that the repetition in your gameplay would result in some sort of payoff, right? There was a lot of that, very spiky gameplay, but I find that even in Diablo 3, it really lacked that. Um, there might have been some punch to D3 early on when there was like the real money auction house, which it was a bad idea. RMH was terrible. There was that sort of punch because you could find a good item and then you could be like, oh my god, I found like the perfect thing. Or scaling back to Diablo 2, there was a lot of punch in finding a high rune which was great. But then we progressed in Diablo 3, and this problem still exists in 4, where things are just, you're just showered in these, like, you know, rare beams. And instead of necessarily focusing on the items giving variety, like unique items such as like arachnid mesh, changing, you know, how you think about your build, and the faster cast rate you have in Diablo 2, where in Diablo 4 there's nothing like that. It's just, there's an item for this thing, you find that, and you're done. There's no there's no sense of build. There's no sense of, like, that sort of item progression. And because you're so conditioned to see all this stuff dropping, I think it takes the fun away. And then, further to that, when you're given more and more access to the rare things over time, it's crazy to me that so many people materials might, and really are just looking for better roles. Like, it feels we're just in the +5 main stat meta again, where conceptually you're just looking for better versions of the same. And that's kind of why I'm making this. Again, I really wish Rod some, like, success in whatever it is that he's doing next. But I really hope they take this chance to really break the cycle of "we've heard you" memes, and actually, like, do something. Yeah, the generosity of the game and the sort of lacking difficulty are, what really ruin it and contribute to the other problem, which is, um ARPGs are supposed to be repetitive, but because that excitement of finding something rare and those spikes in gameplay are gone, the repetition is no longer the point, it's the problem. And that's the point I really want to emphasize. It's not that, repetitive gameplay is necessarily bad, because sure, I could go run a boss in Diablo 2, but the payoff was, like, if I was farming Mephisto, I could find an arachnid mesh. Or if, I was in um the like, I was fighting, I guess, Pendleskin in Act 5, I could at least find a Templars. Or if I was in the ancient tunnels, I could have a chance at a Ethereal Smite. And then, like I said, there's that buildup in dopamine of, oh Jesus, I found a sacred armor. Well, what could it be? Right. I even have, like, one of my more recent uh GG finds video from when I was doing a Holy Grail. I found a Mang Song's lesson. That was awesome. You know what I mean? It's just, that whole sense of um items and what they mean. The weight is gone. You don't feel like there's anything there, and the substance just seems to have been sucked right out of it. So, anyway, to avoid ranting any longer, um, just want to reiterate that I wish this man the best, and I really do hope that the direction of the game changes in a way that at least resembles that, sort of nostalgic feeling I had, where I could, have a character that started with, like, this weak little stick, and, could meaningfully get to uh, a low point, a midpoint, and a discernible end point with, like, those gear changes, and having flexibility to do alt characters that have uniques that fit those niches, and things like that. Um, Whatever their plan is, I'll still be watching, but I'm going to cap myself there before I rant some more because I don't think it will be productive. So anyway, have a good night. Best of luck to you, Rod, and I really hope um, someone at Diablo watches this and sort of takes this to heart, because I have mentioned a lot of feedback when I was making my podcast, which is gone now because I felt I was getting a little too echo chambery, but that's beside the point. I did criticize a lot of things, and I'm hoping that feedback factored into the very obvious changes in what they were doing. And one of the things I do remember mentioning was how they filter feedback. And honestly, I think that sort of filtering the feedback and deciding on an execution was sort of one of the main pillars of really why we're here. So anyway, have a good night. I'm going to shut up now. Peace.